Welcome to Season 6 of Far Reach Voyages, where we share our love of offshore sailing and adventure travel. It's been a challenging year, no doubt about it. The most significant event in my life, and the one that has had the greatest impact on sailing the Far Reach, is I got to join a very special club. A club of survivors. After completing my medical treatment at the fantastic University of Florida Proton Therapy Institute, Gail and I decided to spend time together overland camping in our Jeep with a major expedition across America. Ultimately, we were on the road for 59 days and about 9,000 miles. Only 300 miles of the entire trip was spent on the interstate. All the rest was spent on blacktop, forest roads, or 4x4 trails. Don't worry, we'll get to sailing later in the video, but I thought I'd share a bit of our adventure travel across America. A little about our Jeep. She's a 2021 four-door Rubicon, 3.6-liter V6 engine and a 6-speed manual gearbox. She has front and rear lockers and a disconnecting sway bar. We ordered a new in October 2020. At the same time, we ordered a Ursa Minor J30 camper top, which during COVID took 9 months to receive. Over the next couple years, we built a platform, installed an AEV 2.5-inch lift, and also installed a 17-gallon auxiliary fuel tank between the frame rails. We added a winch and onboard air compressor as well. I like to joke we probably have the only Jeep with Burmese teak trim and bronze fasteners. We've kept the 33-inch KO2 tires because larger, heavier tires and wheels reduces the miles per gallon and adds a lot of wear and tear to the suspension. Unlike a rooftop tent, the Ursa Minor is very streamlined and hasn't decreased our mileage at all. Even fully loaded on level ground, we get about 19 miles per gallon at speeds under 70. The J30 camper top is very well built. Access to the top is from the inside of the Jeep. With the hatches removed, you can stand up on the platform. It's wired for LED lights and charging ports. To this point, I spent close to 200 nights in the camper. We're totally satisfied. From North Carolina, we headed north through America's great Midwest. As we traveled the back roads of Ohio, I spotted a sign dedicating the road to my battalion commander, Larry Livingston, an incredible leader and Vietnam combat vet. Take a few minutes and look him up. You won't be disappointed. We traveled across the upper peninsula of Michigan and visited the Apostle Islands in Wisconsin. Madeline Island. We worked our way out across Minnesota and into the Dakotas, where we camped in the Teddy Roosevelt National Park, a highlight of our trip. What really made the visit special is we listened to the wonderful biography of TR's early life with emphasis on his life at the ranch, written by Edmund Morris. It was fantastic. Then we traveled across Montana, where we had lived for 3 years in the early 90s. The beauty of Montana is indescribable. The contrast of the rich colors and textures is stunning. A highlight was visiting the Charlie Russell Museum in Great Falls, Montana. We eventually worked our way up into Glacier National Park, where we camped, and we drove the Going to the Sun Road and out into the National Forest of northern Idaho. We camped off-grid as often as we could, once crossing path in Washington State with a family of very dangerous brown bears. Fortunately, we survived the terrifying encounter. We spent several days camping around Mount Rainier. I'd never been there. It was breathtaking, stunning, and humbling. We had great weather. The wildfire smoke, though present at times, was often unnoticeable. We hiked and enjoyed just being together in an unhurried, relaxed routine. Like being at sea, wilderness travel and time spent out of doors is soul enriching. From Rainier, we drove south and crossed the Columbia River. The Columbia River Gorge was another highlight for me, as I'd first read about it in the journals of Lewis and Clark. Another highlight was driving part of the Oregon backcountry discovery route. We saw almost no one out there. We experienced tremendous solitude and an abundance of opportunity for dispersed camping. We made our way down to Crater Lake National Park. Let me tell you, I've seen many pictures of the place, but they simply don't do it justice. The view was incredible, way bigger than I expected. The colors were vivid and intense. The sparkling deep blue water contrasted against the vastness of an unlimited western horizon was surreal. We continued to camp off-grid as often as we could. Finally, we made it to the goal of our expedition, the Redwood Forest of California, which Gail had never seen. Wow was the word most often repeated as we walked the beautiful groves. The size of the trees and their majestic beauty defy description. I've seen them twice before, and every time they have a profound effect on me. It's very moving to walk among these giant living sentinels. We camped at the Elk Prairie Campground. I could have stayed there and walked the groves for weeks. We made it down to the Pacific Ocean before cutting back east over the Sierras and down the east side of California. We drove past the Marine Corps Mountain Warfare Training Center, where I once spent 8 weeks as a student in the Winter Mountain Leader course. Gail and I camped on top of Sonora Pass. It was a fantastic view. The Mountain Warfare Training Center is that way, several miles at 6,700 feet. We're at 9,600 feet. Next, we drove east, out across Nevada, and marveled at the vastness of America's Great Basin. It's the quintessential vista of the American West. While it may be stark and unforgiving, I found it to be powerfully moving. We camped north of Moab, on BLM land, after working our way up a rocky goat path to a hilltop overlooking the Colorado River. And we spent time in Arches National Park. We hiked and took in the view of millions of years of work to create a landscape unlike anything I've ever seen. The colors and constantly changing shadows were a feast for the eyes. Gail and I have always been very companionable. We never seem to tire of each other's company, even when traveling in the small confines and with the limited conveniences a Jeep provides. Another highlight for me was Canyonlands. I'd never been there, and I thought it might be a less than stellar experience. Boy, was I mistaken. It was fabulous and made a huge impression on both of us. We agreed we need to make another trip out west in the Jeep and focus our time on just the Canyonlands area of Utah. We drove over Ophir Pass in Colorado and were the only vehicle on the road. The film doesn't do it justice. We spent the night dispersed camped outside of Silverton, Colorado in a downpour. Colorado was as beautiful as we expected. What I didn't expect was Great Sand Dunes National Park. What a gem. I had no idea it was in Colorado. We saw it on a map on the return leg and decided to take a look. Yes, it's an amazing place. Throw in all the usual superlatives, including fantastic geography and scary electrical storms and hail. But the real highlight was driving out the back of the park on a 4x4 trail over Medano Pass. Probably the best 4x4 trail I've ever driven. Not the most difficult, but the most complete experience, with a killer combination of amazing topography, scenic vistas, numerous water crossings, rugged rock crawling, and a wide variety of fauna. It was beautiful. From Colorado, we drove the back roads across Kansas, stopping in Missouri to visit my brother, his family, and his wonderful dog Mickey, before passing through the town where I was born in western Kentucky. I started my working life as a deckhand on a towboat, and at one time most of my family worked in the riverboat industry, so I have deep roots there. We explored the back roads of Kentucky, enjoying the harsh but familiar sounds of cicadas making their unique music. And after 59 days, we started our expedition and we made it back home. I wasted little time in getting back to preparing the Far Reach for her fall launch. The first order of business was to sand the bottom and remove her cover. She needed to be washed and get a new coat of anti-fouling paint. Then it was time to static tune the rig, wash blocks, rig some new running rigging, and op check her systems. On the 22nd of October, we launched her and took her up the ICW and across the Neuse River in North Carolina. There we hoisted sails and enjoyed the unique pleasure of the Far Reach harnessing the wind. We tried out the new furling jib, though my opinion about its value will take some time. Okay, the furling jib is out. Too easy. A friend who lives near Oriental invited us to use his dock to prepare her for her next adventure. In early November, I spent a couple hours removing all the water tanks and washing out the bilge. You can't do that on a stock boat, but it's a simple task on the Far Reach. I also took the opportunity to touch up some of the bilge paint. I got in a little more sailing during mid-November with my friend Bill Hewitt. Then my sister Tricia and her friend Pip sailed with me and stayed overnight on the Far Reach. Then I climbed the rig, inspecting every inch of the standing rigging before we could plan our next voyage. And you might well be wondering where we plan to voyage next. Well, I've been wondering the same thing. We're behind schedule, and the weather has degraded badly and turned to dog crap in North Carolina, so I'm not sure what's in the art of the possible. The only way to find out the answer to that question is to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and wait for the next episode of Far Reach Voyages. If you enjoyed this episode of Far Reach Voyages, let us know in the comments. Also, consider liking and subscribing, as it tells us you would like to see more videos and it helps the channel grow. See you in the next episode.